On my first day of work, a new colleague keeps hinting that she's the chairman's daughter. Everyone sucks up to her and flatters her when they hear. That's not the worst part. They make me out to be some old man's sugar baby. I angrily call the chairman. They called you an old man with a sugar baby, Dad? After I graduated, Dad decisively sent me straight to his company and gave me an entry-level position. The official reason? To train my skills and strengthen my character. While I kept complaining, deep down, I secretly looked forward to gaining independence. However, on my very first day, I overheard colleagues whispering, "I heard Mr. Yarn's daughter is among this batch of interns. The CEO is so inconsiderate, he could have at least let his daughter start as a manager." I was surprised. Who could have leaked this information? Fortunately, after a bit of random speculation, everyone soon moved on to other topics. That was until the intern orientation meeting. A woman who was late introduced herself. "Hi everyone, I'm Tiffany Yarn." "Tiffany Yarn? Are you the CEO's daughter?" The person beside her gasped, covering their mouth. The entire meeting room burst into excitement. After all, Tiffany was dressed head to toe in designer brands, even sporting Cartier's latest Ballon Bleu watch. She had the unmistakable look of a wealthy heiress. Tiffany lowered her head with a small smile and replied evasively, "My father has always taught me to be humble. My joining the company is really just to fulfill his wish." You can just tell she was born with a silver spoon. That demeanor is unmatched. "Tiffany, don't forget us colleagues when your internship ends." I was so shocked that I couldn't find the words to speak. Weren't I supposed to be my dad's only daughter? Since when did he have another one? That said, the misunderstanding was understandable. I had taken my mom's last name, Thornton, while Tiffany was the only intern in our batch with the last name Yarn. Naturally, she became the center of everyone's admiration. I watched her beam under the attention, but chose not to expose her, at least not yet. The room only began to settle down when Gareth Jackson, the department manager, walked in. However, I couldn't help but notice that Gareth's attitude toward Tiffany was markedly different from how he treated everyone else. To top it off, he outright appointed her as the leader of the intern group, assigning her the responsibility of communicating the company's arrangements to us. I couldn't stand this blatant favoritism, so I stood up and suggested, "I think it'd be fairer to let everyone vote on this." "We don't have time for votes," Gareth replied. "Tiffany's resume is the most impressive among you. It's only fitting that she takes the lead." His words were so absurd that they nearly made me laugh. "Just last night, Dad told me, among this batch of interns, your resume stands out the most. I believe you'll shine brightly." Faced with the manager's blatant lies, I didn't bother to argue publicly, just like I didn't rush to expose Tiffany's fake heiress act. Some lies were better left to unravel at the most dramatic moment. I was genuinely curious to see what Tiffany's supposed talents were. Brimming with arrogance, Tiffany instructed me, "All of these need to be sorted into electronic files in chronological order. Email them to me by tomorrow morning." Before leaving, she turned back and added, "Oh, and make me a coffee." I was stunned by how downright commanding her tone was. "Can't you make it yourself?" I asked. Not even my dad had the honor of me making him coffee. "It's just a small favor. Why make such a fuss over it? We're all colleagues." Fiona Zine chimed in annoyance. "Yeah, it's just a cup of coffee. No big deal," another voice echoed, as if I were the unreasonable one. I shoved the mug into Fiona's palms. "Well, since it's no big deal, you can do it. She should serve Tiffany since she was so eager to do so." Fiona's face immediately darkened. "Yvonne, what's your problem? Are you trying to stir up trouble on your first day?" "I'm at fault." Tiffany stepped in before I could respond. "I shouldn't have asked Yvonne to grab a coffee for me. Please don't let this affect our harmony," she pleaded, acting like the victim. I wasn't upset about making coffee, per se. I just couldn't stand her condescending tone. Fiona fanned herself with her hand and glared at me. "How did you even get into this company when you can't even do a simple task like this?" "I didn't come here to fetch drinks for others," I shot back, unable to hold it in. "How about this?" Tiffany mentioned. "I'll treat everyone to afternoon tea to make up for it. Let's all get back to work now." Then, she turned to me and coaxed me sweetly. "Yvonne, please don't be mad at me, okay?" Her saccharine tone made me sick, so I shook off her hand and stormed off. How could someone be this fake? But I hadn't expected what happened next. When I returned from the rooftop, I accidentally stumbled upon Tiffany and Gareth in a compromising situation in the stairwell. Yvonne Thornton is so annoying. She openly opposed me being made group leader this morning, and just now she tried to argue with me again. "Really?" Gareth murmured as he wrapped his arm around Tiffany's slender waist, pinning her entirely in the dim corner. "Leave it to me. I'll make sure she doesn't last until the end of this internship." Following that, the silent stairwell was filled with unseemly suggestive sounds. I felt a shiver run down my spine, but at the same time, I found it amusing. I was curious to see exactly how they planned to make me leave before the internship ended. Sure enough, I was called into Gareth's office first thing the next morning. "Why didn't you submit the materials I assigned you yesterday? If you can't even complete the most basic tasks, you do not need to stay any longer." So this was their grand plan? How disappointing. I looked at Gareth with a cold expression. "Did Tiffany report me to you?" "She gave an accurate account of the situation, and I'm handling it impartially," he replied. I almost laughed out loud. "Impartially, huh? The documents you assigned me were all from cases over 15 years ago. The company website already has them archived. A simple search would show they don't need to be reorganized." I shrugged as I asked, "Or have you never even looked at the company website?" Of course I've seen it." Gareth's face turned bright red at my response. He clearly wasn't prepared for my response. "I was just testing your attitude, that's all." He sure was desperate not to humiliate himself. Of course, I didn't press the issue further. After all, I still wanted to make a strong impression during my internship and prove my capabilities. Gareth cleared his throat twice and said, "I also heard you had a conflict with your colleagues in the office yesterday. I know you're unhappy with my arrangements, but things don't always go smoothly once you enter the workplace. You're still young. There's a lot you need to learn in the future." After leaving Gareth's office, I headed back to my desk, only to see a crowd gathered around my workstation. As soon as Fiona saw me, she raised her voice and announced, "People can be so shameless. I can't believe they're pretending to be all high and mighty while secretly doing shady things." "Fiona, don't say that. After all, we're co-workers." "Maybe Yvonne was just curious and borrowed it to take a look," Tiffany chimed in, tugging at Fiona's hand with a pitiful expression. "What now? The thief can't handle being called out? How ridiculous. What on earth were they stirring up this time?" Frowning, I pushed my way through the crowd. Fiona was relentless. "Yvonne, you still have the nerve to sit here after stealing Tiffany's Cartier watch." I paused slightly. "I have an entire row of Cartier watches at home that I don't even bother wearing. Why would I need to steal one? When did you see me steal it?" it, I retorted. Don't make baseless accusations without evidence. In that case, open your drawer for everyone to see. Right then, Tiffany stepped forward. Yvonne, if you like the watch, I can buy you a new one. But this one was my mom's keepsake. It's very important to me. Their coordinated act practically nailed me as the thief. I had a sinking feeling in my chest. The watch must be in my drawer. Fiona wouldn't have so confidently gathered everyone as witnesses otherwise. Every desk drawer had a lock, but given Tiffany and Gareth's relationship, it wouldn't be difficult for Tiffany to get a spare key. Seeing me hesitate, Fiona became even more smug. What's the matter? Feeling guilty, thief? I glanced at the small surveillance camera above us and smirked coldly. Whoever stole it knows exactly what they've done. I unlocked the drawer. Sure enough, there lay a Cartier Ballon Bleu watch inside. But to my surprise, on the side of the watch was a tiny engraved inscription. I tapped my initials. Fiona snatched the watch before I could react and exclaimed, Tiffany, take a look. Isn't this the one you lost? Yes, this is definitely the watch my mom gave me, Tiffany replied, her eyes red as she looked at me pitifully. Yvonne, why is it in your drawer? Her teary, pitiful expression immediately drew sympathy from those around us. This was truly a performance worth seeing. Your watch? Why are my initials engraved on the side then? The crowd froze in shock again, quickly gathering to inspect the engraving. Sure enough, the letters YT were etched on the side of the watch. I knew exactly where this watch came from. It had been a gift for my birthday from a classmate who tried to curry favor with me. However, since I already had a surplus of similar styles at home, I listed it for sale online at a discounted price. I still remembered how a buyer contacted me the very next day. She haggled with me endlessly over the price until I got fed up and agreed to knock off a bit more just to be done with it. Little did I know Tiffany was that buyer. Fiona folded her arms and sneered, what a joke! Just because it says YT doesn't mean it belongs to you. Don't try to change the subject. You stole Tiffany's watch. Now, we have both witnesses and evidence. What do you have to say for yourself? There's really nothing more I can say. Let's just check the security cameras. Every room in the office here has surveillance. Surely you all know that, right? Judging by their reactions, they clearly didn't. Should I call the police to come and see who the real thief is? I taunted as I pulled out my phone. Fiona's face turned pale instantly. What's all this commotion about so early in the morning? Gareth, who suddenly came, asked. Tiffany looked at me with a pitiful expression and said, someone must have accidentally put it in the wrong drawer. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, Yvonne. Please don't hold it against me, okay? She had started this whole mess, yet now she was acting all innocent and trying to pacify me. Did the sense of superiority come with the secondhand watch she bought? Deciding it wasn't worth stooping to their level, I merely let out a cold chuckle. However, this incident completely soured my relationship with Tiffany. We had to work overtime the next day. Tiffany took charge of ordering dinner for everyone using the intern list. But when the food arrived and was distributed, mine was the only one missing. But I ordered exactly for the 13 people on the list. How could one be missing? Tiffany frowned, putting on an anxious face that looked incredibly insincere to me. My name was right smack in the middle of the list. How was it that I was the only one who got skipped? How about this? I'll order another one for you, she suggested. She was already pulling out her phone. Oh, but it won't arrive until 7 p.m. and we have a meeting starting soon, someone else chimed in. I sneered. I was flabbergasted by how she could think of such childish tactics. It's simple, I replied. Whoever made the mistake should take responsibility. How about giving me your dinner instead? I didn't actually care about the food, of course. I only said that for the sake of it. Before Tiffany could respond, Fiona jumped in sharply. Do you have no shame? First you stole Tiffany's watch and now you want to snatch her dinner? Her voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. Soon all eyes were on us. I smirked at her. First of all, I never stole the watch, as the surveillance footage can prove. If you're so determined to get to the bottom of it, I'm happy to oblige. Second, did you see me physically take her dinner? Fiona clearly hadn't expected me to respond so logically and was momentarily stunned. Tiffany stepped forward to play peacemaker. Yvonne, don't take it the wrong way. Fiona just has a blunt way of speaking. She didn't mean anything by it. Looking at their hypocritical faces, I grabbed my files and walked straight into the meeting room. Out of sight, out of mind. However, by 9 p.m., I was so hungry that I was seeing stars. I bombarded my mom with messages when I was taking a break. I want braised ham hock, butter shrimp, honey glazed ribs, oh, and 2 plates of pasta. By the time we wrapped up, it was nearly midnight. Everyone seemed utterly drained, silently leaving in groups. A sleek black Bentley parked outside the office drew everyone's attention. Tiffany, is that your family's car? Someone asked. Your dad is so good to you, always worrying about you walking alone at night and sending a car to pick you up. Tiffany pressed her lips into a modest smile. Oh no, it's nothing like that. I didn't say a word. I only stepped forward when the driver got out of the car and waved in my direction.
What's going on? Why is she getting in? Fiona shouted in confusion as I climbed into the car. I didn't bother glancing back and simply told the driver to drive. When I got home, the sight of a table full of my favorite dishes instantly wiped away all my frustrations. I dove in without a second thought. Just as I was devouring a drumstick, my dad walked in. With some free time on his hands, he casually asked me how work had been these past 2 days. My hand paused mid-shred. I held back the words that were about to spill. Everything's fine. Just wait and see. I'll make a big splash soon. Tiffany's childish tricks were hardly worth troubling my dad over. I was simply waiting for the perfect opportunity to see Tiffany's lies unravel completely. It was still too early to expose them. The days that followed were a masterclass in petty sabotage. Every morning, I'd find my chair pushed into the corner, my keyboard unplugged, my monitor brightness turned all the way down. Small things, annoying things, things that couldn't be traced back to anyone but were clearly meant to wear me down. I said nothing. I just fixed each problem and got to work. Tiffany watched me from her desk, her eyes tracking my every move. She was waiting for me to break, to scream, to quit. I had no intention of doing any of those things. One afternoon, Gareth called a department meeting. The topic was the upcoming quarterly presentation, a major event where each intern would present a project proposal to the senior leadership team. The top 3 proposals will be presented to the board, Gareth announced, his eyes sweeping the room. This is your chance to make an impression. Don't waste it. Tiffany's hand shot up. Mr. Jackson, will the chairman be attending? Gareth's expression flickered. The chairman's schedule is busy, but senior leadership will be there. Tiffany nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. I could practically see the wheels turning in her head. She was planning something. Over the next week, I threw myself into my proposal. I stayed late, came in early, ignored the whispered comments and sidelong glances. I had something to prove, not to Tiffany, not to Gareth, but to myself. On the Friday before the presentations, I was in the office alone, reviewing my slides, when the door opened. Tiffany walked in, her heels clicking against the floor. Working late? She asked, her voice honeyed. Clearly. She walked over to my desk, and perched on the edge, crossing her legs. You know, Yvonne, you don't have to try so hard. We both know how this is going to end, do we? She smiled. My father owns this company. No matter how good your proposal is, you're not going to win. So why not save yourself the trouble? I leaned back in my chair. If your father owns the company, why are you interning like the rest of us? Why not just start as a manager? Something flickered in her eyes. Annoyance, maybe. My father believes in earning your place. He wants me to understand the business from the ground up. Admirable. Her smile tightened. You're very confident for someone in your position. And what position is that? She stood up, smoothing her skirt. The one where you're about to learn that connections matter more than hard work. She walked out, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I pulled out my phone, and called my dad. Hey, sweetheart, how's work? Dad, quick question. Do you have a daughter I don't know about? A pause. What? There's an intern here named Tiffany Yarn. She's telling everyone she's the chairman's daughter. Another pause. Then, Tiffany Yarn. Never heard of her. That's what I thought. Should I look into it? No, I said. Not yet. Let her keep digging her own grave. I hung up and went back to my slides. The day of the presentations arrived. The conference room was packed. Senior leadership filled the front rows, their faces unreadable. Gareth stood at the front, clipboard in hand, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. The presentations were scheduled alphabetically by last name. Thornton was near the end. Yarn was in the middle. I sat in the back, watching as each intern took their turn. Some were nervous, some were polished, a few were genuinely impressive. When it was Tiffany's turn, she walked to the front with the confidence of someone who had never been told no. Her proposal was fine, competent, nothing special, but she delivered it with such assurance that I could see a few of the senior leaders nodding along. When she finished, Gareth led the applause. Excellent work, Tiffany, truly excellent. She smiled and returned to her seat, shooting me a look that said, try to beat that. My turn came an hour later. I walked to the front, plugged in my laptop, and took a breath. Good afternoon. My name is Yvonne Thornton, and I'm here to present a proposal that could save this company $3 million annually. That got their attention. I walked them through my analysis. The inefficiencies in the supply chain, the redundancies in the approval process, the opportunities for automation that no one had bothered to explore. I had data. I had charts. I had a cost-benefit analysis that even the most skeptical finance director couldn't argue with. When I finished, the room was silent. Then the COO, a woman named Meredith Blake, who had been with the company for 20 years, leaned forward. How long did it take you to put this together? 2 weeks, I said, but I've been thinking about it since my first day. She nodded slowly. Impressive. Tiffany's face was flushed. Gareth's was pale. The results came back the next day. Tiffany's proposal was ranked 7th out of 12. Mine was first. Gareth called me into his office. The leadership team was very impressed with your presentation, he said, his tone grudging. However, there are concerns about your ability to work with others. Concerns. Several of your colleagues have reported that you're difficult to work with, uncooperative, arrogant. Which colleagues? He didn't answer. I see. I stood up. Well, I'm sure the leadership team would be interested to know that those concerns are coming from someone who's been stealing office supplies and falsifying her expense reports. Gareth's face went pale. What? I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos I'd taken. Tiffany's desk, after hours. The printer toner, the reams of paper, the boxes of pens, all stuffed into her bag. Funny how the chairman's daughter needs to steal from the company, isn't it? Gareth's mouth opened and closed. I'm going to present my proposal to the board next week, I said. And when I do, I'll be sure to mention the excellent mentorship I've received from you. I walked out. That night, I called my dad again. The proposal went well, I said, but I think it's time to end this little charade. What did you have in mind? I told him. The next morning, an email went out to the entire company. Please join us in the main conference room at 10 a.m. for a special announcement from the chairman. The room was packed. When I arrived, Tiffany was there, front and center, her expression smug. She clearly thought this was about her. Gareth stood beside her, looking nervous. At exactly 10 a.m., my father walked in. He was wearing a tailored suit, his presence filling the room. Everyone stood a little straighter. Thank you all for coming, he said. I have an announcement to make. Tiffany smiled. As you know, my daughter started her internship here 2 weeks ago. Tiffany's smile widened. I've been watching her progress closely, and I have to say, I'm incredibly proud of what she's accomplished. Tiffany's hand drifted to her chest, as if she she were accepting an award. Yvonne. My father said, would you come up here, please? The room went silent. I walked to the front, and stood beside my father. Tiffany's face went white. My daughter, Yvonne Thornton, my father said. She's been working as an intern in the marketing department, and she just submitted a proposal that's going to save this company $3 million a year. He put his arm around my shoulders. I couldn't be prouder. The room erupted in applause. I looked at Tiffany. She was frozen, her face a mask of horror. Beside her, Gareth looked like he was about to be sick. After the applause died down, my father continued. There's one more thing. It has come to my attention that someone in this company has been impersonating a member of my family. He looked directly at Tiffany. Tiffany Yarn. Would you like to explain yourself? The room went silent again. Tiffany's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. I'll take that as a no, my father said. Security, please escort Ms. Yarn and Mr. Jackson out of the building. Their employment is terminated effective immediately. 2 security guards stepped forward. Tiffany started to cry. Gareth just stared at the floor. As they were let out, I caught Tiffany's eye. Tough break, I said. She didn't answer. The room cleared out slowly, people murmuring among themselves. My father squeezed my shoulder. Lunch, he asked. I'd love that. We walked out together, leaving the rumors and the drama behind. For now.